And I'm kind of having this existential crisis yesterday because I'm reading through, and we'll talk to Sam McEwen. He'll be back today at 8 o'clock. I'm reading through Sam's Rewind,
Mm-hmm.
and it
I
addresses
like a good rewind.
this article that ESPN wrote about Scott Frost returning to UCF that they wrote last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and reread the Scott Frost article.
Just can't shake them. It's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, and so I was trying to figure out. This is why I was having a little bit of a crisis of confidence or whatever you want to call it, right? My little mini breakdown.
So I stopped saying incredible, so you're gonna stop saying existential crisis.
I'm going to do my best.
All
We're
right.
going to get on lockdown here.
Hey, do you have a thesaurus?
Not on me. On the internet, you've got kind of
It
everything.
means plant eater.
Well, you gotta understand though.
And if you eat meat, then you're a carnivore.
That's a different thing. I think you're thinking of an herbivore.
Herbivore?
Like Uruguay.
By the way, they rot it in soccer. But
No,
anyway,
they've had their moments. But so I'm sitting there and I'm reading through Sam's thing. I'm reading through the ESPN thing. And I'm trying to figure out what do I actually – because I was feeling some kind of way, as you can imagine.
What time of day was this?
This was yesterday afternoon.
Okay. Is this Juice World?
Well, I don't know what that means.
Are you lucid?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't have
I can't hear Huddles in my room, and I can't.
But even if I wasn't,
Shane, do we have any Juice World Lucid?
You know, he's got one song on there,
No,
just
Lucid,
the one.
That's a good song though.
I know, but he's got one song. He's got that one. He's got that
I
one
love
Lamar
you.
song. That's it.
Wow.
It's the only song he's done.
All right, I don't even want to distract you, but go ahead.
He's got the mustard song. That's all it is.
That's not the song.
Yeah, he does. That's the one he's got.
He's got the mustard song.
Yeah, I know that's what it's called. But that's what I call it.
Are you talking about turn the TV off?
No, he's got the Lamar. He's got the Kendrick Lamar song.
Who are we talking about?
Shane. That's the only song he has on there.
Oh, I kept thinking you were talking about my man in Juice World. You're talking about
in the system.
You're talking about Shane.
He doesn't have Juice World because he just has the Kendrick song.
Thank you.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
But no, so I'm sitting there.
I know a lot of people that use as few words as possible, and I try to explain. It just doesn't work. Give me more. Or as my man,
I thought I gave you enough.
DJ Razach would say.
I don't think that's how you pronounce it.
Tell me more. And then you know you're in trouble.
Get you on the leather couch, the whole thing.
No, he likes clarity.
Yeah. No, I think
that's why. Yeah, I
think that's important.
Yeah, it alleviates a lot of.
But I'm sitting there. I'm reading through Sam's article. I'm reading through the ESPN article again, and obviously, a lot of people, myself included, feel a certain way about Scott Frost and his time in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sitting there reading through this, and I'm trying to figure out what I actually want from him. Right? Do I just want my pound of flesh? Because sometimes I am that guy. Do I just want him to come out and say and take accountability? Or what? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I want from Scott Frost, because whatever it was, I didn't get from the article.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I'm sitting there and I go, I'm really searching within myself more than I am trying to figure out Scott Frost's motives, because I'm trying to figure out what I want, because I'm unsatisfied reading that article.
Self, I say.
And I go, I think, and I do this all the time. I just want people to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to tell the truth, and I want you to say it out loud. Because I read that article, and I think what finally bothered me about it was the same thing that bothered me about much of Scott Frost's time here. And I'm not even rooting for him to fail at UCF. I really don't care. That doesn't matter. What bothers me is it still doesn't seem like he understands, and maybe he does and just doesn't want to talk about it. That's fine. But in the few public comments we've gotten from him, whether it was the Dennis Dodd thing last year or the ESPN thing or whatever it is, it still doesn't really seem like he understands that a lot of this was his fault. Like, a lot of the problems were self-inflicted. Not all of them, but a lot of what happened here was on him.
Mm-hmm.
And, in the article he goes to say, well, this is what a lot of other people wanted for me. And, this place is kind of a meat grinder. It's not like this everywhere. And all these things. And not once have I ever heard him say, yeah, it could have been better.
Yeah.
I think that's at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want from him. And again, I don't care if he wins or loses at UCF. I think he's actually a pretty good football mind. I don't know how that translates to being a head coach again. But I sit there and I go, why can't you just one time, and this is what I told you 7 years ago now, almost 6, I think, when we're having this conversation on air, the first time we've ever really talked to each other, and you're trying to figure out why I'm so out on this idea that he could turn it around, because we're 2.5 years in at that point of the Scott Frost era. And I go, I don't think
I like how you painted that with every advantage of the conversation possible.
What do you mean?
So you're leaving, and I get it for the sake of telling the story, but what I said is if you continue to surround yourself, you pieced out some of your staff.
Yeah.
You've tried to change some of your admin. You got new leadership now. Maybe the model behavior, you can have some guidance in terms where you can reflect on what you could do differently.
And what did I say?
And you said, well, you didn't hear any of that.
No, I heard it.
You heard it. You just didn't listen. You heard it.
No, I heard it. I didn't think it would matter. There's a difference.
You're like, I don't think he cares enough.
No, I said I don't think he has the self-awareness enough.
Yeah, well, I mean,
because that's different. I think.
Sure.
It can
when you don't know the catalyst. Yeah. I won't split hairs over that.
So I go, I don't think he's got self-awareness enough to understand or to absorb all the things around him. Right? Because you can put yourself around the best people in the world. If you don't have the self-awareness enough to say, maybe I'm part of the problem, then none of that fixes anything.
Like the guy that always complains about his roommates or
he's like, oh man, I've had 8 terrible bosses in a row. And it's like, statistically, that seems unlikely.
Sure.
It seems a lot more likely that you're one bad employee.
Or you're on your 4th team.
Yeah, you're on your 4th team or your 4th wife or whatever. Like, once it had, like,
whoa.
I mean, we're on 4 combined between the 2 of us.
Yeah.
But, like, once or twice, like, we'll give it a go. But
snip it in the butt at 3.
After 2, like, I'm just not doing it again.
Oh, I hear the third time's a charm.
Like, if I get more than 2, like, I'm out. But
it's a you problem.
Yeah, like it probably is a me problem, and I'm not putting that on anybody else at that point, right?
Call that projection.
But I like at some point,
this coach hates me. I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go to a different school.
My Pee Wee coach hated me. My junior high coach hated me. The JV coach hated me. The varsity coach hated me. I transferred. That coach hates me. All these coaches suck. And it's like, wait a second. Hold on a minute. So if you trade out,
let me put some thought.
If you trade out Bill Moose for Trev Alberts, and you trade out, Coach Walters for Bill Moose and whoever, or not for Bill, for Mark Whipple and whoever else, and you're going, okay, why? Oh, none of these guys, the guy hired from the credit union, none of these guys can coach football.
Now that's a little harsh.
I can't remember his name.
Lubick?
Yes, there we go, Lubick. He's still coaching college football. That's unfair to him. I apologize.
Yeah. Shout out Centrus. I mean,
listen, they've got great financial experts. I don't think I'm hiring any of them to be my OC. You know what I mean?
Shout out Centrus.
So that was unfair to Lubick, but it was still funny. But like, no matter who he surrounded himself with, it was kind of just like, hey, maybe it's a me problem here.
Yeah.
And I think that's still what I get from the article. Now, maybe he's gone to therapy. Maybe he's gone a lot of counseling. Maybe he's like done some introspection and figured some things out. And he's just not going to talk about it. That's fine. But when you've got like a pretty public failure like that, like that's part of the problem I have with whether it's coaches or anybody in a public position, right? We have these people that they'll have these huge public failures, but then they want to deal with things privately later. And it's like you kind of gave up that option to a certain degree.
I go back and forth on some of that a little bit. Number one, I think the whole public versus private thing, I don't think you get to have.
It's hard. Let me just start there. It's really hard.
You don't have to like Timmy Couch it. I'm saying it depends on the whole public, what happened in public.
Sure.
Like if it's a public meltdown, if it's a public tongue lashing, if you bring somebody else into it,
sure,
publicly,
yeah,
you typically should not be afforded the luxury to apologize or handle it privately.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Now, with what you're talking about, sure, there's probably some overlap, but the internalization of where the failure probably was, maybe that's just not a public matter, or maybe we just haven't felt comfortable enough in the public forum to get down to the nitty-gritty privately, because I could see in a world.
Mhm.
Now you're gonna be like, this damn DB and this good piece of cheese.
Oh, I'm ready for the piece of cheese. I've been waiting for it.
Now you sometimes you will tell yourself,
Self.
idiot, idiot, that either
Selfish.
people don't care enough or the audience isn't ready.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Oh, I knew you wouldn't, but I'm just
So here's why.
I'm just telling you, when you're insecure,
Sure.
sometimes it's hard for you to fathom that people really care about the root cause, or as some people like to say, rut.
So my negative, pessimistic, the whole sandwich
Just-
is rotten view of that.
The whole what?
The whole sandwich is rotten view of that. Just to like, I know I come from a very different viewpoint than you. So like I'm accepting that. And I'm not saying you're right or I'm right, but I'm saying this is why I view it differently. Is my very pessimistic view of that is I don't believe that the root cause matters. Like if you're in that
to
situation.
that individual?
Yes. Like when I see it from the outside looking in, when
Really?
I see them not take responsibility for something publicly, when the failures or whatever was public, then what I see is they don't care about the root cause.
So,
Which I agree, I understand is not necessarily
I'll
the case.
kind of push back on that, because I think sometimes people aren't ready to openly discuss the root cause. Right? Like it's
And I have no way of telling if they're not openly ready or if they're not willing or capable to go there.
listen,
Like from the outside, I can't tell.
as a guy who has spent time being self-destructive,
Mhm.
sometimes it took a while to be able to say, hey, you know what, I'm so insecure about this, or I worried so much about this, or I'm too this for this and not enough for like that takes time.
No, I know.
Right? So,
and I probably
and you have to understand that the audience, it's not even so much that they care, it's that like the platform is right. So I'm not saying you need to sit down or a tell-all book, but I think at some point some reflection is going on, and maybe I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I wouldn't even be entertaining this conversation on a Monday after this weekend, except for I just had this very same conversation. Although this one was kind of through a message board, it was a very similar deal. Where I said, and this is funny how this works, because I didn't even think the guy was going to be good here. And I was vilified for saying it out loud.
At the time,
I told every single one of you what I felt like the issues could be. When you come with certain foibles and you bring them to another place, and that other place is a birthing ground for what ails you, you're going to have to insulate yourself.
Yeah.
Like I said, oh, man, he's jealous. He doesn't. Look, man.
Like
I swear I'm not.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the setup of the false sense of how it could really go, because I've seen this place eat up lesser man. Like I'm well aware, right?
Yeah.
Of how difficult a job.
And you've been very consistent on that.
I'm
very consistent on that
for as long as I've done this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. You can do that with the prodigal son, and it is going to be tough. And I had just talked to him a couple
especially
weeks
when he's
before,
wired a certain way.
right?
Yeah.
Which is ultimately what kind of matters the most.
Yeah, because it's his. I'm going to call them weaknesses. I'm not, but his the things he struggles with.
Let's just go with foibles.
Sure, the things he struggles with versus the potential pitfalls at Nebraska lined up unfortunately well.
Yeah, so I'm having this conversation, and at the end, I'll be completely honest. I did not I didn't really fight it. I didn't fight the consensus. I just was like, all right, I can understand that. I don't have much to pick apart there. Because at the end of the day, what I'm cheering for and what I'm championing is, or what I was really bothered by, I don't love the advantage of revisionist history.
Sure.
And so my point was, it was not a bad hire.
I agree.
Now,
no, I do agree.
So
that it wasn't a bad hire. It went poorly, but it was the hire you had to make.
So, I went into this, what is what does the failure mean? Was it the hire? Was it what happened while they were on the job? And it was worded pretty eloquently by this particular gentleman. And he's like, at some point, you just have to come to grips that it was a poor job. And I said, oh, no, I've come to grips with that, and I acknowledge it. What I'm just telling you is at the time it was not a bad hire.
Mhm.
And he basically was like, listen, man, if you don't do well at your job, it's ultimately not going to be a good hire.
So you can make the right decision and not get the right results.
I didn't want to get into the weeds, especially over script.
Sure.
Right? It's a nuanced conversation. And truth be told, I don't care enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't care like you visit. I only have so much good energy,
Mhm.
and I can't be wasting it on somebody that doesn't have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
Right? We do too much of that, man. It's like, well, you see it a lot in athletics. Well, this player did this, and man, this player's getting this kind of love, or this player's getting this kind. What does that have to do with what you need to do?
Mhm.
Or, well, did you hear what this guy said about? Hey, man, is he coaching you?
Yeah.
Do they have any impact? That's why I'm huge on my number one thing about why I like young people and dealing with young people is I want to put you together in such a way. This is pseudo narcissistic.
Okay.
I, the wrong pronoun, want to put you
Mhm.
together in such a way where this sounds great, right? You can thrive anywhere.
Yeah.
I want to equip you with the tools that you need where you can be dropped into any environment
Mhm.
and function at a high level. So I want you to have all the skills so you can dictate the environment so the environment doesn't dictate you. I don't want to be at this school. They treat me,
Mhm.
hey, what are you doing to minimize or to neutralize the variables?
Mhm.
Right? Because at the end of the day, my guy, that's really the only thing that you can control.
Right.
And what happens in this job, in jobs in particular, with this kind of audience and resources and fanfare, what happens is you can get a false sense of security because you can be okay in the meantime.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you could be rotting to your core and it sneaks up on you.
Mhm.
So when somebody says to me after a year and a half, hey, man, I can't believe I compromised this, that, and the other for short-term
To
gain.
try and win early.
I wish I could go back and get that.
Mhm.
See, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, man, a little bit of
That's
little bit of self-awareness there.
because you told me that. That's the only reason I'm even entertaining the idea that he may have dealt with this privately.
Now, some of the other stuff, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I can't speak to it.
No.
But I do.
Yeah.
Like leave it. Like everybody was so mad at Callahan, and I'm like, you know what he said this place will eat itself alive if you're not careful. You mark my words.
Mhm.
I was like, hey man, I know you're mad, and I get it. You won't rock the colors. It's gotten kind of petty. People were mean to you, but I'm not buying it. But he said it, and then I watched Bo on his way out,
Yeah. No, he's not wrong.
and I was like, damn. And then I kind of watched Riley.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, he didn't really have a chance. Again,
He never really had a chance.
I give him, he gets grace because
He inherited the worst position of anyone.
and he had the worst leadership.
That's part of what I mean.
So
Right. Like not just football wise.
and he got the most divisive fan base
Because of half the fan base didn't want Bo fired.
Yeah, I think he got the most divisive fan base.
He had the worst situation by far.
So, and then the next guy, it's like, come on, man, you knew.
Mhm.
You just didn't surround yourself with, like, you had every opportunity to.
He was equipped with the information to deal with it better.
And he could have put together.
And
He
chose
could
not
he
to.
could have put it together any way he wanted to.
Yeah.
He could have had this guy. He could have had this guy. He could have had this guy.
Mhm.
Like, the world was your oyster.
Yeah.
So that's the part where I won't. That's the part where I'm like, all right, I can't really defend it. I do know some of the things that came to light with how he felt he could have done differently.
Mhm.
You know, the staff and picking safety and trust over best available. Like
Mhm.
I've been, like I'm telling you,
Yeah.
like I know what that's like.
Yeah.
But it's also the reason why I love, why I think Coach Rhule is very successful. It's going to be very successful because he looked at all. He's talked to every last one of these dudes, with the exception of maybe Callahan. That I can't speak to. I think he'll say that there's some parts that Bo was right about. I think he'll say there's some parts that Mike was right about. I think he'll say there's some parts that Ice Cold was right about. I don't know if he's talked to Callahan,
We know he's talked to Frank though.
but
Yeah,
100%.
we know he's talked to Frank and Tio a bunch.
Yeah. So what he did was he just did some fact finding, and I think he knew there's a difference between him putting his staff together to get by initially
Mhm.
and what he ultimately wanted his staff to look like.
Sure.
He was well aware of that from the minute he took the job, which I felt like was pretty self-aware.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're outwardly saying to guys, "Hey, listen, you're only going to be here for a little bit
like
of time.
2 years and pop, right?
You're not openly saying that, but I think when these guys are coming on staff and gals,
Mhm.
hey, this is what we're after early. After that, we'll reevaluate.
Well, he kind of even did it with one of his dudes, Sean Patton, right?
Yeah.
Where he goes, hey, this is a 1-year job. And then now he found different 1-year job where Sean Patton would be useful, right? But what he brought him in to do and what he's doing now are not the same thing.
Yeah.
He very easily could have moved on at that point
It's very self-aware.
Like it's sort of these like, hey, we have a project to complete. When your portion of the project is done, you may or may not still be here.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like a lot of big corporations operate that way.
Yeah,
They bring people in for a 2-year project.
Just like the
or
way
whatever.
that he's retooled the recruiting department versus the talent department versus the acquisition. It's very, very fluid. And it's the only reason that I ever say, and a lot of people don't really know what I'm talking. Shocker, they don't really know what I'm talking about because I don't even know what I'm talking about. But when I say at some point, when he wins,
Mhm.
because I believe they will, one of the things that we're going to undersell is his malleability, his ability to adapt,
Mhm.
and to just kind of roll with it, because he happens to be partnered with an administration that is very similar in how they can just kind of go with it.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand. I don't think we understand how hard that is to do. Because we'll just take, I can't take my own principal. I was going to take Dr. Dostal. Let's take Bill.
Mhm.
For as smart as he is, and as many entities as he's been a part of in terms of being successful, if he came in with the mindset that I've done it this way before and this has worked, I'm doing it the same way here,
Mhm.
He'd be in trouble. It's the ability to adapt and to roll with the punches that don't compromise what your core essence is.
Mhm.
That's why people like that have success. See, the environment is not going to dictate his behavior. He's got the core principles that are instilled that allow him to be dropped into different sort of stressors,
Mhm.
and he can function like that because of kind of the essence of who he is. So I say all that fancy psychobabble to say it doesn't matter if you're at Family First or Allegiant or Allstate or your own company or Prep or Westside or Mutual, or when the environment starts to unroot or supersede like the core,
Mhm.
you're always going to be in trouble to which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just are. So it's like I don't need him to say, "Hey, man, I did this, and this,"
Mhm.
because I think whether he makes that outward admission or not,
Mhm.
we're in a better place. So it makes it easier for me to swallow.
Sure.
If we were still struggling, and we're nowhere near where we want to be as a program, right? But I don't need to
I think
have
it's
you
trending the right direction.
Yeah, like, and people that are having success, they don't do that. Like I don't need to hear Mac talk about the infrastructure of the athletic department at Creighton.
Yeah. It's why I've largely
You know what I mean? I don't.
It's why
I don't. Without getting in those weeds, I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
yeah.
like,
It's why I've largely gotten over the Trev Alberts thing. Like, I'll still take my pot shots because I think it's funny, but I think Troy Danon's better at this job.
Yeah.
I just do.
And I don't know about what I do know.
Yeah.
One thing I think Troy is better built for the long haul of this landscape.
Yeah.
Because he's not as rigid philosophically.
Yes.
But I will say this. Without Trev's foresight.
Sure.
And being a forward thinker, Danon comes into a much more difficult spot. So you got to give the devil his due. But I mean, Trev was right about a lot. You just didn't like the way that he handled it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he clearly was right about a lot.
He was right about a lot. I think he was wrong about some stuff as well. But it's the same thing.
See. You sound like my wife. That's not. Like, why did you have to get that?
Because
I didn't say he was right about everything.
Right.
I said he was right about some stuff. Well, he's wrong about some stuff too. Like, see, that lets me know you're not digesting what I'm saying. You're looking for the counter argument.
No, I am digesting what you're saying, but I wanted to move on.
Because I didn't say he was right about everything.
But I wanted to move from Trev to another guy that was wrong about a lot, but without his foresight, we're also in a much different spot. And that's a guy that is universally hated in Sean Eichhorst. Without his financial foresight, Nebraska's in a very different place.
I understand.
You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
that can be said about a lot of people.
I'm cool
right?
with that.
And Trev did some things right. I'm not going to argue with that. Like, he did some things well.
But
He hired Rhule, and I love Rhule.
Listen, you're talking to the king of the eat the meat and spit out the bones guy.
Yeah.
I don't have to get in the weeds with you.
Like, Sean Eichhorst probably should have been a CFO rather than an AD.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, I'll take that from him and that from her. And I get it, right?
Yeah.
What a good piece of cheese. No, but I mean, not everybody. A lot of people have some qualities that I could find useful, even though we may not be in agreement all the time.
Here's the reason that I find it necessary to bring up the other side of the coin, whether it's the positive side of the coin with Sean Eichhorst or the negative side of the coin with Trev Alberts, is I feel like, and it's kind of the thing I'm talking about with Scott Frost here too, is I feel like if we sometimes we'll paint a narrative about something, and not necessarily saying that's what you were trying to do, but I think it can be heard that way, is we'll paint a narrative about something, and then all of a sudden, this ESPN thing comes out about Scott Frost. It's like, oh man, Nebraska is a hard place. That's a really tough job.
Oh, you're going into protective mode.
Yeah, because
I understand.
Because it's like, okay, listen, some of those things could be true. And I said this when Trev left. I go, I get it's a harder job than some places, but I also thought you were built for it. Like, there's also some things where it's like, okay, yeah, Nebraska can be a meat grinder. You're going to tell me that Alabama's not a meat grinder? You're going to tell me that LSU you think Brian Kelly doesn't think LSU's a meat grinder right now?
You should have started with this, because for as much as people think you hate Nebraska, you are ultra protective of
I am
what you think it could be. You've argued with me about recruiting. You're the guy that lobbies for top 12.
Yeah.
Can be at the CFP
in a year.
You should have started with that, because you're taking it personal.
I do take it personal. And it's the same thing when Trev left. It's the same thing with Frost and trying to pin it all on Nebraska, because it's not just, and I've said this before, I like the state more than I like the university. And I love the university. But I like being from here and being from where I'm from more than I like the university, because I don't have, aside from growing up here, I don't have an attachment to the university. I didn't go there. Like, I rooted for them, obviously. I still do. But my attachment is to this place, right? Mm-hmm. And what bothers me is the University of Nebraska is the most public thing anyone outside of here knows about this place. And if you're constantly taking a dump on the University of Nebraska, whether you're Trev Alberts, whether you're Scott Frost, whether you're anybody else, then you're taking a dump on the front porch of this state.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to have problems. So you can tell me, he did this good and he did that good. Like, after he pooped on the front porch, he came inside and cleaned the house. Like, that's cool. I get that. He still pooped on my front porch. You know what I mean? Like, he could come in and clean the toilet, but he took a dump on the front porch. It doesn't matter that the toilet's clean. It stinks when you walk in now. Like, that's the problem that I have with, like, a Scott Frost and a Trev Alberts. Like, I need you to acknowledge, like, yeah, I dropped a 2 when I walked in. And then I did my best after I got there, but it was pretty messy already from some of the stuff that I did. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I would like you to say. Like, hey, it's a great house. It's not perfect. Probably needs some updates. That's cool. But really didn't help that I dropped a deuce when I walked in the door. That's where I start to have a problem because nobody wants to say that, and maybe they don't have to. He's still got a job. That's fine. Like, whatever. Trev's got a job down at Texas A&M, although they don't seem to be in love with him either. Like they're all going to get new jobs, and it's fine, and they're going to be fine. But it matters to me because I'm still here, and I'm still going to be here.
Yeah. I hope you had some toilet paper on your front porch.
I don't. That's the problem. That's why it's so messy now. And he walks around with his poop smeller on him, and he's trying to tell me it's my fault because my bathroom wasn't clean when he got there. It's like, yeah, you didn't even make it to the bathroom, bud. Well, I'm out here on the porch.
I hear you.
That's my problem. And that's where I
and I think it's.
So I'm not going to let the negatives go.
It's very similar to the conversation I was just having this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly some different analogies.
Sure.
I should read it to you, but I don't have permission. Because
Sure.
I don't know if you can just take information from there. It was well written.
Yeah.
His response to me was well written.
Yeah.
And I just found myself, at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm probably just go ahead.
Good piece of cheese guy.
Good piece of cheese guy.
Part of this is your fault.
Why?
Because
This ought to be good.
2 years ago, and I was leaning this way already, but like 2 years ago when we started doing this, all the time, and you'll know it as soon as I say it. You tell me this thing all the time, and you get mad at me about it. You said, don't let people off the hook. You said, don't let people off the hook, Ravi. It's you could call them out on it. Like, don't let them off the hook. So you know what? I'm not letting people off the hook anymore. I've got these things that I believe in. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but you're talking about core principles. One of mine is, hey, tell the truth and say it out loud.
So I think for me, it's twofold, and I'm not going to defend it because I understand. I can eat it. Part of it is if you're not willing to say it out loud yourself, though. So, like I could tell you about a situation that I haven't had success in, and I've got to own it, right?
Yeah.
I can talk about being benched and say, you know what?
Yeah.
I didn't really prepare very well. Or I could talk about, not staying in a relationship and saying, you know what? I'm not going to talk about what happened to me. I'm just going to talk about the choices that I made.
Sure.
Right? So part of me saying that is don't let them off the hook is I wouldn't let myself off the hook either.
Absolutely.
But some of it is to my detriment. So there's balance there, right? Because sometimes I'll just have a hard time forgiving myself.
For sure.
So there's balance there, but that's the context in which I say that.
Right.
Like sometimes if you get people that are just that far in denial, or the other thing is the context you're missing is, or didn't add to is, sometimes like when you're having these conversations and you're trying to fix something, like don't just say, oh, that's just such and such.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just how they are. Oh, hey, man, such and such. That's just how they are. Or that's just how fans are. Or that's just how their administration is. Or, man, what that school is like. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's part of the problem, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we do have to. So that's the context. And when I say.
No, for sure. But that's.
But I don't mean.
Yeah.
Barry Patino because he won't throw his starter under the bus and why he benched him the last 5 minutes. Because why he said that.
See, that's where we will forever disagree on that because I don't think everyone knew the context of why. Like, I think that's a fair question to ask.
Okay.
And I think it's fair to, because I'm glad you brought that up because I do kind of put that all in the context of like we do, and maybe Patino in that instance shouldn't, but in general, we do let coaches off the hook for being like, it's coach speak. They're not going to tell us anything. Or
is that why you were riding with Cronin? Because that sucked too.
Part of it, yeah. Because he said the thing out loud that everybody, like, you think everybody knows it's true. It's like, hey, my guys aren't playing very good. We're not doing this, this, and this. Like, he said it out loud. And is that the best way to handle it? Maybe, maybe not. But at the very least, he was honest.
I mean,
like,
it's a joke.
You know what I mean? Or like with Hurley and all of his like schadenfreude with acting like he's the victim in every single situation, and he doesn't understand why his teams are officiated differently when he coaches them to foul the crap out of people and then gets mad when they get called for fouls.
Which is why you hate Dion when he says, I mean, let's just be honest, man. If his last name wasn't Sanders.
Yeah. Like,
can I just
what
say,
does bolstered mean?
No, that's not the clip. That's not the clip that I'm talking about.
What's up, girl?
So whether it's
that's not it either.
Patino or Dion or Hurley or Frost, like I think people read that article and they're like, well, of course he's not going to say anything. It's like, but he still kind of did. He's like, I'm not going to talk about Nebraska. And he goes, but some other places are a meat grinder. Where else you been a head coach, Scott?
Now,
You think you're
all
being
this
like
is
real
subjective.
secretive? Oh, some other places are a meat grinder. Was not calling plays as the OC in Oregon really that challenging? Like, was that the meat grinder we're talking about here?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Like, what are we talking about? If you're not going to talk about it, don't talk about it. Or it's like, oh, some other people wanted me to go back to that place. Really, it wasn't the fact that you went from $2 million a year to $5 million a year? That wasn't any part of it? It wasn't the fact that you were going to go hang out with all your friends and do all that kind of stuff and see all the people you went to college with? Like, that wasn't part of it? Don't act like you didn't play a role in the thing that happened here.
Yeah.
So that's
Sure.
like whether it's Frost or Hurley's a really good example of this. They're very different people, I think. But Hurley acts like he never played a role in the thing that happened or in the things that happened to him. That's my problem. Is it seems like Frost acts like didn't play a role in what happened here. Yeah, you did. Same with you, Trev. You played a role in what happened here. If you hadn't tried to put your thumbprints on everything and say, I want my legacy to be this, and we're going to do this, then maybe things would have worked out a little bit better with the people that were in charge of you and that you had to answer to. Like maybe if you were a little more malleable and adaptable instead of trying to put your footprint on everything and make it about what can Trev Alberts' legacy be at Nebraska? This is my perception of what happened. I don't know. Like maybe things would have been a little bit different. Like own the role you played in this situation. I'll be the first one to tell you the role that I played in my first marriage not working out. Be happy to tell you. I've told a lot of people, right? I'll be the first one to tell you in like anything in my life that hasn't worked out. Happy to tell you whatever role I played, right? Because I can only control the role that I played. Whether that's a 1% role or a 99% role, I can only control that part, right? There's some situations where other people, I firmly believe, are like 90, 95% at fault. I can't control their 90%. I control my 10%. So I'm going to take ownership of that. And am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. But that's one of the things I care about. And in sports, we're really, really bad at this. We're really, really bad at taking accountability for our part of the pie.
As part of your passion about this, and I'm going to get to the Nebraska thing in a second, but because it's sports, you think it should be easier than some of the stuff
in real life? Absolutely.
Okay.
You know how much easier it is to take responsibility for a football team losing than it is, yeah, my marriage ended and my family split. That's real life stuff.
Yeah.
Not games. Like, what's the bad thing that happened to Scott? And I get like personal life stuff happened at the same time, whatever. What's the bad thing that happened to Scott Frost because he lost games in Nebraska? He got paid anyway. He got a job with the Rams, and now he's back head coaching again. Like, what's the bad thing that happened? Right? People were mean to him? Like, that's not real life stuff. If you can't do this in sports, I don't believe you're capable of it in real life. Because that's why I think sports matter at the end of the day, is they help you learn how to do things in an easier environment so that you can do them in the hard environment. That's why you like coaching young kids, because you want to teach them how to have competitive stamina and how to endure and how to take responsibility for their piece of the pie and all these things so that if they can do it on the football field, you hope they can do it when they're adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't do it on a field or a court or on a press conference, I have very little confidence you're a person I want to be around.
Part of it is the fact that you want Nebraska to be in a better position in 2020. Is there a correlation between Nebraska being in a better position in 2025 if you get your quote-unquote pound of flesh?
Absolutely not.
It's just the fact that you painted Nebraska and Nebraska's painted in this like this.
You pooped on our front porch. Knock it off.
It's impossible to win here or whatever.
Yeah. This place is a meat grinder. More than ever. Every single major job in college football is getting harder and harder. I don't believe for a second I'd go on these other message boards. Have you seen Texas A&M fans? They're nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama fans were calling for Saban's job at certain points.
Well, they already want their current coaches to.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer had 1 year, and they're like, this ain't the guy. Okay, maybe we give it a second, coming off of the best head football coach of all time. Maybe we chill for a minute and see what this other guy can do. Like this, you can't convince me that those programs are easier to deal with than Nebraska. I don't believe it. I've been to some of those places. I've been to Texas a lot. Those people are nuts. Whether it's Texas or A&M or anywhere else, those people are crazy.
Texas is a powerful.
Nebraska is a much more hospitable place in general than a lot of those other places. I don't believe for a second this is a harder job because of the people here. I don't. And so when you try and paint that picture, and you try and paint the picture that it's hard to recruit here, and you try and paint the picture that it's not possible to win here at the highest level, I'm going to be out on you in a hurry, especially when you're not following that up with, like, yeah, maybe it is a little bit harder to recruit here, but also I probably wasn't organized enough in how I went about it. Or, yeah, maybe it is a little bit harder to win here. I also didn't do the best job of putting my staff together. I probably could have put myself in a better position to be successful, right? If you're going to tell me about what's wrong with Nebraska, that better be quickly followed by the role you played in this situation. Because that, to me, Nebraska offered, it's never followed by, oh, by the way, until we got to Coach Rhule, it was never followed by, oh, by the way, the resources here are incredible. The fan support here is incredible. Whatever you feel about the sellout streak, like, this place hasn't had an empty seat in 60 years, more or less, right? Like, you can't tell. That's what's that, however you feel about it, however you feel about, like, legitimacy or whatever. Like, we're at about 95% occupancy for going on 60 years now.
Yeah.
That's unusual in support. Like, you can't, don't tell me all the bad things. Don't tell me I need to replace my HVAC and be like, oh, by the way, they did the gutters, the windows, the roof, and the siding. Didn't get to the HVAC yet. I'm mad about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't give me the laundry list of the to-dos and not give me the list of, oh, these are things they already done and I didn't do much with it. Like, that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like relationships. A lot of times you only get credit for the losses.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
one
in
of the things that
hindsight.
drives me crazy about relationships, whether it's like with like interpersonal, like friendships or spouses or whatever, is don't get, like, I don't understand, and maybe this is a me problem. I don't understand.
This is incredible, though, by the way.
When someone will get furious at me for not doing something if they're not just as happy if that thing gets done. That doesn't make sense to me, just on a logical level. It doesn't. I brought that up with my first wife. It didn't go well. She got mad at me one time about not doing the dishes. At our first apartment, we didn't have a dishwasher. We had to do them by hand. And so she was out of town. I was going to go to a movie with the boys, and then I was going to go do the dishes after. She got back in town faster than I thought she was going to, so the dishes weren't done when she got home. Lost her mind. I go, listen, that's fine. You want to be that mad about it? Cool. But then you better be that damn happy when they're done and you don't expect them to be done. That argument did not carry with her.
Is that funny, Shay?
But I genuinely, to this day, don't understand it. I don't understand how you're going to be that mad about something that doesn't happen if you're not equally happy about when it does happen. I don't get it.
That's just code for being taken for granted.
That's why I'm riding with Mick Cronin, even though everybody else hates on him, because if I'm this mad about when it doesn't happen, I'm going to be happy when it does. I promise not to talk about Scott Frost the rest of the hour. The rest of the show.
Hungry dog gets the bone.
How about the rest of the year?
That's probably fair.
Is that cool?
I think I got it all out of my system.